Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is a Friday. And all of our guests today, including Thomas Drance, standing by, brought to you by Delaney's OK Tire in Langley. In business for over 20 years, OK Tire is Canadian-owned and operated from coast to coast. Clayton and Brett Delaney. I was out there yesterday, got my snow tires put on.
Oh,
just the service that they. I was in and out in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I said, you know what? I know Rick Dollywell. Boom. Clayton and Brett are second-generation owners, and they handle all the major tire brands, as well as custom wheels and suspension, leveling kits, and lifts and full mechanical services. Visit them at 19863 Fraser Highway in Langley. I'm going to be driving the Coke. That's why I got the snow tires on.
Oh, the Coca-Cola, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't say Coke. Just say Coca-Cola.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Let's go to Sammy J. Peppers afterwards. And we'll relax. Thomas Drance joining us now from The Athletic. Canucks in Edmonton on Saturday after the 8-1 victory in Vancouver on Wednesday. How are you, sir?
Well, I was good, but now I'm never going to get over how Rick says Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. What is it? What's the real word?
Right the third time.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
What did I said the Coca-Cola. I've been on it a million times.
Remember the bumper stickers? I drove the Coca-Cola. Remember that? And then they had fun with it. Somebody had fun with it. I drove Kingsway.
Kingsway.
Yeah.
And Thomas, you're not old.
Kingsway.
Thomas.
Yeah.
You're not old enough to know, Thomas. Before the Coca-Cola, we had to go the other way to get to Kamloops. And Cache Creek. The hard way around the mountains there. It was tough road.
Highway 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was tough road.
Princeton.
Yeah. That's it.
I still take that sometimes just because it's fun, or if I want to go through Manning Park or Karamias. Lovely driving. Always good to have snow and mud. Glad everyone was impressed that you know Rick Dollywell. I'm going to try that line.
You should. Yeah, it worked for me. It worked for me. Okay. I heard you asking everybody in the scrums after the game Wednesday, what kind of statement did your team make? And we're talking about everybody on the Canucks, you asked. What kind of statement did your team make against the Oilers? 8-1 on Wednesday. You wrote a column about that. What kind of statement did the Canucks make on Wednesday, Thomas?
I mean, they made one. You know, I appreciate that none of them wanted to say it. I appreciate that they're trying to take it in stride. I certainly appreciated Rick Tocchet's approach to tamping down on any undue exuberance after just one game. But make no mistake, I mean, that's an 8-1 shellacking of a Stanley Cup favorite to open the season. Our only data point to this point on the Canucks, on this version of the Canucks, is the team with the third best Stanley Cup odds showed up into their building, and the Canucks, took them up like an empty beer can and sort of pressed down the sides and then smashed them on their head. It was dominant. Like, it was a completely dominant performance. And I think whether or not it's a statement of intent, I certainly think it's a statement that this team warrants our piqued curiosity, right? Like, I do think we have to be open-minded about the possibility that, hey, maybe this fits together better than any of us imagined. Certainly my buddy at the Athletic, Dom Lecision's model has significantly upgraded his evaluation of the team, because again, this isn't, a 3-2 win in which the Canucks got outshot by 20. They completely thrashed a Stanley Cup favorite in game one. We'll see what they can do. We'll see if they can take that opportunity and run with it on this upcoming road trip that all of a sudden, you think about a reeling Edmonton team now. I know they'll be motivated, but we saw how that matchup looked on Wednesday. You'd have to think the Canucks have some confidence. And then a rebuilding Philadelphia team, a team in Florida that has none of their defenders healthy, and then a team in Tampa Bay that doesn't have Andrei Vasilevsky. Like, all of a sudden, if the Canucks can take this and run with it a bit, you might finally have that good start this market's been waiting for.
You mentioned statements, and the statement the Canucks made. Did the Oilers make a statement Wednesday as well?
Oh, man, I hope not. I think it's fair to take a small one-game sample, and with all of our usual qualifiers that we'll need to see a lot more before we know who this Canucks team is, say At least it's encouraging, right? Like, I think that's fair. I think if you're looking at what you saw from the Oilers and getting meaningfully concerned, that's going to age poorly. And just some examples from recent history. The Pittsburgh Penguins, 2017 Stanley Cup champions, opened the season against the Chicago Blackhawks the next year, lost 10-0, and then repeated as Stanley Cup champions, right? The Vegas Golden Knights were completely thrashed, crushed, demolished in their first game of the playoffs last year against the Winnipeg Jets, and didn't look back and won the Stanley Cup. Like, I think it's fair if you're analyzing this to look at the Canucks and be like, hey, that was significant enough that I don't think we can just say one game. That was so encouraging that I think there's some meaning there. I think that's right. I think that's fair. I think if you're taking one game and being like, well, Edmonton's not what we thought they were, I think you're out to lunch. I don't think that's right. What a pathetic performance from a team that I think is going to be far, far better. I'm not downgrading them in my assessment. I still think that's a team that's going to challenge for the President's Trophy. I still think they're going to win the Pacific. I just think that was a brutally off night for them.
Thomas, so many great individual performances in that 8-1 win. Which one was the one that stuck out for you?
I'm going to go with Brock Boeser here, Rick. I'm going to go with Brock Boeser here because it wasn't about the 4 goals for me in terms of, if we're talking about, and I don't know why we always talk about Boeser's goal totals, but like the 30 goal mark or whatever.
Yeah.
If we're talking about that, to me, the fact that he got off to this hot start doesn't matter as much as the fact that he contributed his two-way form looked really good as he complemented a DiGiuseppe JT Miller line that drew the hard match against Connor McDavid and absolutely trounced the best hockey playing human in the world in those minutes. The two-way game looked good. The battles were won. The passing, like the pass off the rush to Filip Hronek that ultimately leads to his second goal, like that was a high-end play. And then he was so involved on the power play, right? Like this wasn't the puck just follows Boeser around on the power play. Like he was sort of the straw that seemed to be stirring the drink, taking that Bo Horvat role. Didn't look like he sort of missed a beat. He was their primary weapon. Like he was their primary shooter. He led the team in shots. He led the team in shot attempts. He led them in expected goals. He scored a goal on the power play. Like everything on the power play, it looked like he was one of this team's most important and most frequently looked to weapons. Well, if Boeser's going to be one of this team's most frequently looked to weapons 5-on-4, he's getting to 30. Like that's a lock. That's a lock if he stays healthy, if the power play continues to run or involve him as much as it did in game 1. So for me, it wasn't just the 4 goals. It was the bounce back we saw in his defensive play. It was the passing, and it was how significant a part of the power play. Like there's no sort of ramping up process as they figure out how to involve Boeser here. Like he was a natural, super dangerous part of what the Canucks were doing 5-on-4, and that power play looked good.
Thomas, your thoughts on Conor Garland? His agents got permission to talk to teams. Yeah. What's going on there? How's this going to end?
Well, can I turn this around and ask you guys a question? I'm a little worried. Like I'm a little worried because of what I saw in game 1. I saw enough in game 1 that I at least want to see this group get a shot. Yeah. Like, don't you want to see this group get like 10 games now? At least?
Definitely.
So now I'm a little worried. I'm like, okay, well, what if this team is better than I expected? And what if there's going to be internal pressure, partly, self-created because Garland's been on the block forever, partly mutual, partly a result of the club reacting to their own cap situation.
Yep.
But I don't want to see them lose a guy who's, the 11th highest scoring 5-on-5 right winger in the league since he joined the team. I don't want to see them lose a guy who scored a goal like that playing with Elias Pettersson to open the scoring and who forechecked like that and played really well away from the puck up until the third period when his minutes got sort of ramped down. Like I want to see what this group can do now. So I'm a little nervous about it, to be totally honest with you, Rick. And again, I keep coming back to this as much as it's one of those things, like it's been repeated so often it's become true, but I'm not sure it is, that the idea that Conor Garland's overpaid. And I think where people struggle is Conor Garland doesn't have trade value, but that doesn't mean he's paid above market value, right? In a hard cap league, value is produced in terms of trades when teams or players in particular are super efficient, are providing surplus value under the hard cap, or if they have, unique traits, and undersized scoring winger is something that teams feel they can replace. But just because he doesn't have trade value doesn't mean he's quote unquote overpaid. Again, we're talking about the 11th highest scoring right wing 5-on-5 in the NHL since he joined the team, and he's the 42nd highest paid right wing in the NHL. How do we explain that gap? I think Conor Garland's a fair value player. I think he's played really well for this team. Honestly, I think he's mostly played really well since he joined the Canucks. He drives stuff 5-on-5. He's one of 3 or 4 players on this team that you'd feel confident dropping onto a third line and being like, he can drive good outcomes there. The underlying numbers obviously are sensational, but the scoring profile's there too, especially at evens. So, and I liked the fit with Pettersson. I thought that line looked really good, despite the fact that, I don't know that Kuzmenko had his best night. It didn't matter. That Pettersson line was still flying. So, it makes me nervous because I kind of want to see what this group can do based on what we saw in game 1. I don't think he's a player who this team should be even considering retaining on, given his overall value. And so, yeah, it's a situation that's regrettable, especially it's regrettable anyway, but it's especially regrettable because after that first game, I want to see where this team can go. I want to see how far they can run with this.
Here's the statement you made with this hit, Thomas. You will be back next week, and we appreciate that.
Yeah,
excellent.
Absolutely.
He's speechless here.
Oh my, he's frozen. He's frozen.
Is he frozen?
He's frozen. Keep it this way. Keep it this way.
You know what? Of all the freeze frames I've ever seen, that might be the best one ever. You know how it usually when it comes to a freeze frame, the person looks just horrible?
Yeah.
He's looking good there.
No, he looked surprised, like he opened the fridge and saw something in there that wasn't supposed to be in there.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, you open the fridge sometimes. Hey, what the heck's that in there? That's the look.
But he froze just as he was going to answer the question.
Just leave this for the remainder of the show?
Leave it. Even next week, tell him on the phone and leave this.
Hey, as opposed to seeing us.
Yeah.
Right? The whole show.
You are bang on, though. Not only is the freeze frame perfect, but he also froze at the end of an answer.
I know. I was just.
No, he's gone. He's gone. He went out.
Yeah. Maybe the best freeze frame I've ever seen.
That was
nice.
incredible.